very first woman's name was Selu. She's also known as the Corn Mother, and she's where we get the green corn ceremony. The very first man's name was Kanati. Niquazi Mound is a paramount chief's mound, which means it was a leadership area of the Cherokee Nation. Several treaties were signed from this location. The colors of the Niquazi warriors would paint themselves red. Another interesting mound site that is barely visible here is the Katua Mound, and it is where the United Katua Band traced the origins of the Cherokee people in North Carolina. The tribe developed 7 clans. The Wolf Clan was where the war chiefs were from. However, the other clans, Deer, Bird, Paint, Longhair, Blue, and Wild Potato, could also produce chiefs, and generally those were the ones that were from the white towns. Pizarro in the 1500s invaded the Inca and sought to enslave them in order to get gold. As a result, his lieutenant was another invader named De Soto. De Soto would invade the Cherokees in 1540 on May the 14th. During the invasion, he would take Indians as hostage. In the exchange, some of the Indians would receive pigs, horses, and cows. He defeated 2,500 Choctaw at Mobilla and went on into the northern part of Mississippi. Thus, you could say 6 flags over the tribes: the Spanish, the French, the British, Mexico, and eventually the United States would all influence the tribes of the East. One of the first problems that the Cherokee encountered was slavery, specifically slavery from the Spanish. As we mentioned under De Soto, they introduced a system known as encomienda, requirimiento, which means that you were basically an indentured servant. You had to carry their luggage for them as they traveled looking for gold. Because South Carolina began using some Shawnees and other tribes to capture Cherokees, eventually the Cherokees would declare war. This led to 11 treaties being signed before the United States. One famous war is known as the Yamasee War of 1715. Yamasee were members of the Creeks. Cherokee originally rose up to assist the Creeks in the destruction of South Carolina. However, during the conflict, the Shawnee were pulled into it, and as a result, the Cherokee would join up with South Carolina to defeat the Creeks. The Anglo-Cherokee War of 1758 would break out among the lower towns of the Cherokee. During the French and Indian War, Dragon Canoe, the most famous of the warriors, began fighting at a young age against the British. Dragon Canoe, who served as the war chief of Chickamauga, also led the Cherokee, the lower Cherokee towns, against the United States during the Revolutionary War. After the Revolutionary War, approximately 6 treaties were signed initially before the Constitution, one of those being the Cherokee at the Treaty of Hopewell on 11/28/1785. One of the first religious orders to make contact with the Cherokee was the Moravians, who set up what's known as Spring Place in 1801. It would come to Oklahoma and would become Oaks Indian Mission. 600 Cherokees would volunteer to fight with General Jackson against the Red Stick Creeks, specifically the Alabama Quasati, the Kealeji Tribal Town, and Tuplaco. Why did they fight for Jackson? Those 3 famous Cherokees, specifically John Ross, Sequoyah, and John Ridge, would go on to lead the nation and sought an alliance with the United States to guarantee that the Cherokee would have their property. One famous person that was married to a Cherokee was Sam Houston, who had found Texas. He and David Crockett, who fought beside the Cherokee, would lose their lives at the Alamo. Well, David Crockett would. Sequoyah's birth name was George Guess, and he was part of the original Old Settlers of 1815. They established what would eventually become known as Dwight Mission. That is why Dwight Mission was first established in Russellville, Arkansas. Sequoyah, being a veteran of the War of 1812, would establish the syllabary in 1821. In 1808, the first Cherokee law was written, but by 1827, the first Constitution was written. The first elected chief was John Ross, and the old Cherokee capital was at New Echota in Tennessee. By 1838, the Trail of Tears was signed after the Indian Removal Act was put into place by Andrew Jackson and John C. Calhoun. The major river that they had to cross was the Mississippi, and upon arrival, the Trail of Tears ended at Fort Gibson. The Cherokee began building again, and the Capitol building in 1867 was built at Tahlequah. The Cherokee flag has some unique symbols. The 1839 reflects the first Cherokee Constitution after removal inside the new nation. The colors are red, brown, green, yellow, and gold. The wreath of leaves and the acorns in the Cherokee seal represent the sacred fire. The seven-pointed star in the Cherokee seal also represents the seven clans. The seven stars on the flag also represent the seven clans. And the black star represents those that perished on the Trail of Tears. Sequoyah would locate his house near Salisaw, where he would build his cabin. The Cherokee Nation has over 7,000 square miles, with 14 counties, 15 districts, and 17 council seats. Part of the land that Cherokee had was known as the Cherokee Strip. It would also become known as the Cherokee Outlet. A famous land run would occur here in the late 1890s. The name of John Ross's home was Merle Home, and you can still visit it in Tahlequah. The Cherokee building in Rose, Oklahoma is the Saline District Courthouse. Here's a picture of Cherokee Chief Van's house. The Cherokee Female Seminary is now Northeastern State University. The Cherokee Male Seminary unfortunately burned down. Here's the land run in 1895, Cherokee Outlet being one of those land runs that was photographed. As a result, in 1905, they began the Dawes Allotment, which was the division of land and each head of family receiving 160 acres. One of the people that opposed this Dawes Allotment and the dissolution of the tribe was named Redbird Smith. That's why his birthday is celebrated on July 19th. Redbird had made a pledge to return to the old ways and decided that the first step was to locate the sacred wampum belts, which were woven of wampum shells to record the history, tradition, and laws of the Cotuah and the Cherokees in general. The wampums are believed to have a special power within themselves and are guarded very carefully to this day by the Cotuah Society. Our pride in our ancestral heritage is our great incentive for handing something worthwhile to our posterity. It is in the pride in this ancestry that makes men strong and loyal for their principle in life. It is the same pride that makes men give up their all for their government. That is what he recorded to the Senate in opposition to the Dawes Allotment Act. As a result of his movement, the United Cotuah Band would begin its efforts to retain the ancient Cherokee ways. One tool to fight the takeover of Indian land was the creation of the state of Sequoyah. The 5 civilized tribes joined together in an effort to stabilize their own governments and to create a new state in the United States. However, it was never, the House of Representatives would not give consideration to it. They forced Indian Territory and Oklahoma Territory together to create the state of Oklahoma in 1907. Ironically, they used a Cherokee woman to symbolize their Indian Territory and a cowboy to symbolize Oklahoma Territory, and had a mock fake wedding. The name of the 5 civilized tribes obviously are the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Seminole, and Muskogee, and each one of those tribes' seals occupies one of the branches of the star of the state of Oklahoma. One interesting fact is that Sequoyah went to Mexico, northern Mexico, where he was searching for Cherokees that had evacuated during the War of 1812. It is reported that he passed away there, and that his grave is somewhere near the town of San Fernando. It is also very interesting that the Nighthawk Katua and the Snake Band of the Creeks and the Choctaws wanted to purchase land there in northern Mexico.